Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity to practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, now welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks. I know this episode is going to talk about, believing in yourself. Because, on this journey, that's something you really have to do. You have to actually believe in yourself. Because, everybody, when they're born and growing up, they see a vision of what they want to be. But, society and all those stuff, depending on how impossible it may sound, this society may say, yo, it can't be done, and such like that. And in some cases, they're right. But if you believe in yourself enough, it can happen. I'm a living testament. But, actually doing it, me talking from experience, I realized that, there it's not the fairy tale. It's not the fairy tale version of, you believe it and then you achieve it. There's I'm trying to give you the realistic aspect about believing in yourself, because a lot of the people kind of say, oh, just believe in yourself, you can do it, and such like that. But it's a hard road to actually doing it, because the more impossible the dream sounds, the harder you have to work, the more sacrifice you have to do, and the more you have to lose. you know, Especially if something that has never been done before, you have to actually say, yo, you're going up against established people who have said, okay, this has never been done before, and such like that. And also you're going into territories that you have never been into. And so that's basically what the aspect of actually saying, okay, I want to believe in myself, but to become this, but these are the reality of the things that you have to face. You're going into a territory that you have no idea. You just hear the surface version of it. They don't know the reality as yet. But over time, you'll start to see the reality, and then it's up to you. That when you start to see the reality, that's where believing in yourself come in, because that's where you start to have to push yourself, motivate yourself to say, okay, I want to achieve this goal, and then boom, eventually then I'm going to achieve it. But to before we actually get into the topic, I have to talk about anime that I usually, me and my friends usually watch in high school. It's called Naruto, and for all the lawyer podcast fans supposed to know that Naruto is my favorite anime. Yes, you're supposed to know that. But Naruto, the story, I guess I'm going to spoilers and all this stuff. But I'm just going to give you a basic synopsis of it, just so to get you interested into listening to it. But to also bring the point I'm I'm telling. So basically, you have the main character, which is named Naruto, which is a boy that was born, well, not born, but had nine-tailed fox, which is basically this monster placed in him at birth. And this monster now was creating havoc in his village that he was growing up. He was basically destroying everything and killing a lot of people, killed a lot of people. And then this fox, in order to stop him from actually continuing his rampage, they sealed him into this boy, which is the main character, and such like that. And then boom, yes, the monster disappeared, and it's like, yay, they stopped the monster. They stopped the monster. But the reality of when they start the monster, the collateral damage is that all these people lost family members and all those stuff, people that they love died and such because of this rampage, and businesses, all kind of stuff get destroyed and all this kind of stuff. And this boy now is growing up with with the fox in him, and everybody that sees him associate the fox with him. So the whole village hates him, and he doesn't know why. Nobody tells him why. But everybody just hates this guy. It's like why in the world everybody hates him? Nobody wants to tell him. But over time, growing up, he sees the sees a goal that he wanted to achieve. He wanted to become the Hokage. What is the Hokage? Hokage is basically basically the president of the village, or the prime minister, or whatever. And this guy said, "Yo, I'm going to become that." But for one, everybody hates him, and every time he says his dream, everybody laugh at him because they're saying, "How can this kid? What kind of wild dream this guy has? What kind of wild dream this guy has?" And make it worse, he's doing poorly in class, in school as well. So basically, like, what kind of guy is this? But eventually, what the Naruto show is basically shows how him became the Hokage. So basically, he went from nothing, everybody hating him, to him becoming the hero of the village. He saved the village eventually from some villain, and then eventually he basically saved the whole world in his world. Basically, the whole world in his world, in the Naruto world. Eventually, after that, and became the hero that saved them. So he became the hero of the village. He saved the village, and then the villagers that used to hate him now start giving him respect and put respect on his name and said, "Okay, yes, Naruto, yes, Naruto," and I respect him and all those stuff. I asked him for autographs and all those stuff. And now he became popular and heroes and all those stuff. And then eventually he saved the entire village, entire ninja world, because that's what they were doing. They were ninjas. And basically, he saved the entire ninja world, became the hero again, and then eventually he became the Hokage. And it's like, yes, he became from the Hokage, and they live happily ever after. He married, had a child, and then they live happily ever after. So that's basically how Naruto ended. And it's like, yes. So so basically, that synopsis is basically me telling you how how your journey, I believe in yourself, is going to go. Yeah. It's that's basically anime. It, I can't tell you your road to achieving your dream is going to be rocky. But if you want to see someone that actually achieved his dream and see how he's done it, watch Naruto. Watch Naruto. It's basically 700 episodes, and you see basically from zero to him becoming the hero and Hokage and all those stuff. But as I said, I'm trying to give you a realistic version of what believing in yourself requires. So basically, Naruto's finished and whatnot. And then you have the spin-off to Naruto, which is basically Boruto, which is a story about his son now. His son now basically rising to fame. But basically, it's not really that I'm trying to mention. We're still talking about Naruto. So in Boruto, Naruto is the Hokage. So basically, now the anime Naruto is basically the story of him going from zero to become the Hokage. In Boruto, he is now the Hokage, and then what you see now is the reality of him, of what being the Hokage is. Him in that seat, him living the dream that people said he couldn't achieve, and everybody hated him and all those stuff. Him living the dream. And what you see is basically mostly him doing paperwork. He's barely fighting and such like that. He's doing paperwork. Barely has time to go home to his family. He barely has time to anything. It's kids hate it. It's kids hate him because he's never home. He's always working and all those stuff. So basically, his dream, the fantasy version of what being Hokage was to him back in those days, the reality is really different. but he still appreciate the fact that he was Okage because that's basically what he said he wanted to be, and he knows that okay, this is what it entails now. And the period between Naruto and the Boruto saga was basically the molding of him becoming what the Hokage should be, because he never, even though I say he became the Hokage, dream manifested, there was basically steps in that. Basically, all those bad habits that he usually has, he had to really get rid of and become more Hokage like, because he basically leading a village. So that's basically what the essence of becoming, the dream. You say, okay, yes, you want to become this and that, but the road to becoming this and that, it's really a whole different mode, and you have to really become, you're really becoming that so you see it in your dream and you fantasize about it, and you see, like, you watch movies, like for example you want to become a doctor, and you see the fantasy version of what being a doctor is. You basically pull out a stethoscope and you basically, check there, check there, and such like that. I see the fantasy version, but in reality now, for example, the corona pandemic, you're on the front line now, and basically all these people is coming in, and you have to try to save them. And then the reality is that you're not going to save every one of them. You're going to have deaths. You're going to come out and say, okay, unfortunately, X and Y didn't make it. And it's like, wow, that's what the reality of becoming a doctor is. That's the reality. You know, all those stuff, which ideally I would want that. I would really want, and ideally I would like to change that, but that's the reality now. That's the reality now. So basically, that's, you see the fantasy of what you want to be is like in the maybe movies or in your dreams or whatnot, but in reality, it's more serious, and you have to actually put in the work. So basically, what I've been saying now in terms of believing in yourself is that, back when so basically, I'm officially, basically a biochemist, because I've finished my university. When I finished university, my degree is in Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. But before that, you know, the term biochemistry, I had no idea what it was until one of my friends recommended it to me. I said, okay, yes, why not become biochemist, so for a certain reason that we never mention. We still not mention it. But back then, before that, all I wanted to do was become a scientist. And then when I reached grade 7, I had to choose what kind of scientist I want to become, because I never knew there were different scientists. Then he recommended biochemists and such like that. And but then I thought it was a joke, it was a joke that we basically have. Basically, yeah, we would become a biochemist just for that certain reason. And it was a joke because I know I had no idea that it could actually be done. We had no idea that it actually could be done. But what I knew was basically I was on the science path. That was the path I chose. But being a scientist was also a dream as well. I never really thought I was would become it. So basically what happened was, over time, the dream got realer and realer. And then over time I had to start believing in myself. I had to actually believe in myself and actually put in the work, because the dreams that I had was starting to get realer and realer, and all of a sudden I'm at the university pursuing a degree of a Bachelor of Science in biochemistry. And it's like, what in the world, bro? What? Bro, that was a joke that me and my friend had back in grade 8. And all of a sudden I'm pursuing this degree. So that's basically how actually the real life version of it is going to be like. It's like you're going to have this dream, and you say you're a little kid, and you just have this fantasy version of it, and people like, say, oh yes, 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 you can be anything that you want to be, and then when I reach high school and you're older, people start slapping you with the reality. Say, okay, you can't become that. You know how much work you have to put in. you're barely passing this subject and you want to become this, those are the reality that you're going to be pressed with. And at that moment is when you have to actually start believing in yourself. That's when the believe in yourself has to start. You have to actually start. So okay, even though these people are telling me this and that, I can actually happen. I can actually do it. And then over time now, you're going to see yourself actually start see the reality that, oh, wow, I actually can do it. And then you start to get motivated because you're like, wow, it's actually become a reality. And then boom, you're in there, you're there. And then the reality setting of what becoming that thing really is. And then that's where you basically become the professional version of it. So when you're listening and see all these professional people talking, being like that, that's basically the manifested version of what they were wanted to be when they were younger. Some of them. But back to where I was saying that all these people are going to say, yeah, when you reach that point where you're old and people start saying, oh, you can't do this and look at your grades, or you're going to become that and such like that. That part of it, that's the realistic part about achieving your dream that I want to mention. That part of it, you have to think about it two ways. Two ways. So the first way you have to think about it is that these people are imposing their realities on you, which you should not take serious because that's basically their realities and what. And if you really want to achieve the dream, you have to really push through those negative comments and such like that to achieve the dream because they're just imposing their realities on you and they never actually if they never try it, how can they tell you that you can achieve it? So that's basically the first part. And the next part is that you have to take those criticisms seriously because while the people that you have to believe in yourself, they are the gatekeepers to your dream becoming a reality. And if they reach that point, you have to pass that point and you have to really take what they say seriously and really look at yourself and say, okay, is what they're saying really true? And such as, okay, how can I change that about them? Change that about myself and so and whatnot because if you're going to achieve a dream, you have to really pass out gatekeepers and you have to really assess and say, okay, yeah, that that's a valid point. So I have to actually start work on this part of it, and then boom. So that's basically how they believe in you. That's the reality aspect of believing in yourself. You have to when you start pursuing your dream, you have to believe in yourself. All these people are gonna come with all these negative comments and all those stuff, and you have to basically push through that. But you also have to take their criticism seriously because they might also have a point in that way in what they're saying as well. And the next thing is you really have to really believe. You really have to believe that you can do it. And what happened is that over time, so that was, as I said, my a joke that one of my friend had back in grade 8 actually manifested into reality. I have a degree in biochemistry. So after I leave university and whatnot, I had more dreams that I wanted to achieve. And all those dreams, what happened was I I thought I could achieve them. Thought I could achieve them. But when I tried to attempt to achieve them, the reality set in again that even though I could achieve them, who says the society wants it? That's what the roadblock that I stumbled upon, and that was a valid stumble block to the point that I have to basically just shut all those dreams and said, okay, I have to just said, okay, I'm going to just stop pursuing those dreams because those dreams won't come true because there's no way I can convince people that, okay, this is something that they want. But then that was me because I was pretty shy and was pretty passive. I could do it, but I have no idea how I'm going to tell these people that, okay, you want this, So basically, what happened was I started to do realistic things, like for example, get my driver's license and such like that. And then over time, I just started to do stuff like basically starting this podcast, and then if you listen to the podcast, you remember the thing that I mentioned, the 90 days to change your life that I got from that other podcast that I was listening to, Coach Greg Adams. And basically, what happened was over that 90 days, I realized that wow, I made a big statement about what I want, and I made it in the first 90 days. I made that big statement about what I want. And over that 90 days, some of those dreams started to become a reality. And then what happened was, over time, was that the dreams that I mentioned way back when I really leave university, that I said, okay, I wanted to do, but there's some that was that the society may not accept it. I started to really understand, doing the simple real life tasks, like for example, getting my driver's license, interacting with the real people and all those stuff, give me a more experienced view to understand why those ideas may not work and may work. So that now the position that I'm in now is that I'm more better able to actually pursue those dreams with no a more better understanding as to why they may not take it. And then with that information, build it um with that knowledge in mind, so that they're more able to actually be open to it. And that's another part about believing in yourself. That's the next aspect of it. In that you can believe in yourself and say, okay, I want to do this and whatnot. But the reality is that maybe it's not the right time. You know, so some of your dreams may not be in the right time to achieve it. It may be too early or such like that. So you maybe have to just stop and then start do regular stuff, just to basically get an understanding of what real life is, so that basically over time, when I get the understanding, then you can realize I say, okay, this is where that dream that I had and relates to it, and then you can pursue it the right way. Because there's, for example, Facebook was not the first social messaging app. There was MySpace, there were things before that, but what happened was Facebook came at the right time with the right features, and basically they would know the top thing that many people know, and they came with the right strategy. That the same thing with you, with your dreams and whatnot. Sometimes it's not the fact that your dreams are impossible or what, but is that sometimes you need to experience to understand why. You need more experience to really understand the right strategy, the right things and all those stuff you need to see to make your dream manifest. And that's basically one of the things that I learned on this journey as well. So that's basically the next part of it. Yeah. So believing in yourself is a really complicated thing, because even on your journey, sometimes you really lose hope, because as I said, you're going into an uncharted territory. You really don't know what you say you want to become this, and by saying you want to become this that you have never done before, you're charting into a territory that you have never been in. So you're basically taking a lot of risk, and it's a lot of up and down in this journey. And sometimes the down can be really down, really down, down, down. And it's up to you to really say, okay, do you want to come back up? Yeah, so that's basically how this journey is going to be, and that's where believe in yourself has to be. Because even the Naruto um anime that I recommended, there was a lot of time he was down bad, and he had to really pick himself back up. You know, you have to pick yourself back up. And then also, as I mentioned, Naruto as well, while also believing in yourself, you have people or things or obstacles that basically will detract you from your goals. So things that will tell, okay, don't pursue that, pursue this, which is more lucrative and attractive and such like that. And that's where you also believe in yourself coming in it out as well, because it's up to you to say, okay, I really want this, so I have to really delay my gratification so that I can pursue this and finish this. And it's like you can't lead into those temptations because those temptations will make you live a very unfulfilled life. For example, if you remember what happened in my third year, even though I finished it, my third year was pretty was pretty bad. Was pretty bad. It was pretty good, but it was pretty bad as well. And that's because when you reach that high, there are a lot of distractions and such like that, and it's up to you to really not lead into those distractions. Yeah. So I guess there could be a lot more to mention on this topic, but basically this is the start of it now. You know, maybe I come back and next time I talk about more stuff about it. But this basically is it for now. You have to believe in yourself. The more impossible the goal is, the more you have to believe in yourself. Next thing I can do is look at most of those people that actually achieve certain stuff. Like for example, I used to listen to Elon Musk interviews and motivation videos a lot because basically it was starting from nothing. You just watch those stuff and then you see no, he's achieving his dream and getting all this hate, all this hate. But basically, what people don't realize is that before he was this richest man in the world, he was basically a nobody, and, and nobody will almost failed a lot of things. So that's the thing. Let's really learn about Elon Musk's story. There's a lot of, yeah, as I said, in every story there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. There's a lot of good and bad in my story as well. But before they were this big person, now they was basically like nobody had to come up, and they took a risk. When they took that risk, they become hugely successful, and then everybody start hating them. It's like, why are this successful? Why are you a millionaire? Ah, people don't realize that there was a time they were not a billionaire. Yeah, so that's the part of the story people kind of forget. Yeah, so thanks for listening to this episode. And I look forward for the next episode. And believe in yourself because you never know what will happen.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
This episode we're going to talk about shyness. Yeah, because I guess many of us have dealt with it at time. I was a shy person, and still kind of is. I guess more now I'm less of that person. I'm more just introverted in the sense that I like to just, if you listen to the podcast episode, you realize that I just want to talk about that topic that time, or when that episode is done, the next episode is really about that topic. I just move on about it. I guess so I guess shyness. I think is different from introverted. Because I've been both, so I can kind of tell the difference now. Back I was younger, I was pretty shy in the sense that I always think about things I want